January 30th, 1944, Italy. A German soldier named Werner looked through his special viewing telescope. What he saw made him freeze in fear. A huge concrete fort, as thick as your bedroom wall times 20, had just disappeared. 32 German soldiers who were inside. Gone. Just a giant smoking hole in the ground. The Americans had brought something new to the war, something nobody had ever seen before. It was called the 245 howitzer, but American soldiers had a different name for it, the Black Dragon. What made this gun so special? Imagine the biggest, loudest thing you've ever seen. Now make it 10 times bigger. That's what this gun was like. How big was it? It weighed as much as 15 elephants. The barrel alone was longer than your school bus. The shells it shot weighed 360 pounds. That's like shooting a full-grown lion. It could shoot those giant shells 14 miles away. That's like standing at your house and hitting a target in the next town. The gun's crew. It took 14 soldiers just to make one gun work. Think about that. 14 people working together like a sports team, but instead of scoring goals, they were firing a super cannon. When they fired the gun, the noise was so loud it could hurt your ears from far away. The ground would shake like a small earthquake. Soldiers said it felt like getting punched in the chest every time it fired. Here's where America showed how good it was at building things. A factory in New York called Watervliet Arsenal started making these guns in 1942. By 1944, they were making 13 guns every single month. They made 315 of these super cannons total. But here's the really amazing part. They also made the bullets. And these weren't regular bullets. They were 360-pound shells. By 1945, American factories were making 10,000 of these giant shells every month. Germany couldn't believe it. They thought, how can America make so many? But America had lots of factories, lots of workers, including many women, and lots of steel and metal. It was like America had a giant toy factory, except instead of toys, they made weapons to win the war. Compare that to Germany. America made 315 of these super cannons. Germany made only 8 big guns like this. Russia made 47. Britain made 36. America made more than everyone else combined, breaking through the mountains in Italy. In 1944, American soldiers were stuck in Italy. The German army had built super strong forts in the mountains. These weren't just walls. They were thick concrete bunkers that could protect soldiers from bombs and regular cannons. There was one mountain called Monte Cassino. It had an old monastery, like a church, on top that was 2,400 years old. German soldiers had turned it into a fortress. Allied soldiers tried for months to capture it, but couldn't. Then the 245 howitzers arrived. What happened? On May 11, 1944, 8 of these super cannons started firing. They fired for 72 hours straight. That's 3 whole days and nights. They shot 1,847 of those giant shells. The gun crews could see German bunkers through special telescopes. They'd aim carefully, and boom! The bunker would just disappear in a cloud of dust and broken concrete. Out of 43 big German forts they aimed at, they destroyed 39 of them. The other 4? The German soldiers ran away before the shells even hit. One British general who watched said, "The American super cannons did in 3 days what we couldn't do in 3 months." On May 18th, Polish soldiers raised their flag on top of Monte Cassino. The road to Rome was finally open. The secret, how they aimed so well. You might wonder, how could they hit something 14 miles away? Great question. The American Army had invented something really smart called a Fire Direction Center, FDC. Here's how it worked. Step 1. A brave soldier called a forward observer would sneak up close to enemy lines. He'd look through a telescope and find a German bunker. Step 2. He'd use a special radio. It weighed 48 pounds. Imagine carrying your little brother on your back to call the gun crews. Step 3. Smart soldiers at the FDC would do math, lots of math. They'd figure out how far away is the target, which direction, is the wind blowing, what's the weather like. Step 4. They'd tell the gun crews exactly how to aim. Step 5. Boom! 4 minutes later, the shell would hit exactly where they wanted. Sometimes they'd have multiple cannons fire at the same time, so 6 giant shells would all hit the same bunker within 2 seconds. Imagine 6 cars falling on the same spot at once. Nothing could survive that. Cracking Hitler's big wall. By late 1944, American soldiers reached Germany. Hitler had built a massive wall of forts called the Siegfried Line to protect Germany. It was 390 miles long, that would take you almost 7 hours to drive, and had over 18,000 bunkers, pillboxes, and concrete forts. Hitler thought this wall would stop the Americans. He was wrong. 15 groups, called battalions of 240mm howitzers, went to work. They started in October 1944 and kept firing until Germany surrendered in May 1945. The numbers. In just 6 hours one day, they destroyed 19 out of 22 bunkers they aimed at. Near a city called Metz, they fired over 3,000 shells in 2 weeks. When they wanted to cross the Rhine River, a huge river in Germany, they destroyed 31 bunkers in one night. German soldiers who survived wrote in their diaries, "The American super cannons make our forts useless. We're not safe anywhere." One German general said after the war, "We knew America had more soldiers and tanks than us. That was okay, but we had no answer for their super cannons. They could destroy any fort we built." Let's talk about why these shells were so powerful. The shells. Each shell was made of super hard steel. When it hit a concrete bunker going 2,300 feet per second, that's faster than a race car, it would punch right through. But here's the clever part. The shell had a special fuse, like a timer, that would wait until it was inside the concrete before exploding. So instead of exploding on the outside, it would explode on the inside, blowing the whole bunker apart from within. It's like if you had a balloon. You could poke it from the outside, or you could put something inside and pop it from within. The second way is much more destructive. The explosion would create a crater 50 feet wide and 20 feet deep. That's big enough to bury a house. The soldiers who fired these guns. Operating these super cannons was really hard work. The gun crew, 14 people, 1 chief, the boss, 1 gunner, aimed the cannon, 1 assistant helped load it, 6 ammunition handlers carried the heavy shells, 2 crane operators lifted the shells with a special machine, 2 powder handlers, the explosive powder that launched the shell, 1 truck driver. Loading 1 shell took all of them working together for 90 seconds. That might not sound long, but remember, each shell weighed 360 pounds. After firing just 10 shells, everyone was exhausted. One soldier wrote in a letter home, "After firing, my chest hurts and my ears are ringing. But when we hear that we destroyed a German bunker and saved American lives, it makes it all worth it." The forward observers. These were some of the bravest soldiers in the war. They had to go right up to the front lines, sometimes even sneaking behind enemy lines, to find targets. They carried heavy radios, telescopes, maps, and compasses. Their job was super dangerous. Out of 127 forward observers who did this job, 31 were killed and 43 were wounded. That means almost 6 out of every 10 got hurt or killed. One observer named Lieutenant Robert Anderson survived 187 days of combat and helped destroy 47 German bunkers. He said years later, "It felt like I had the power of a thunderbolt. I'd see a bunker, call in the coordinates, and minutes later, it would just disappear." German soldiers were terrified of these guns. They called the shells earthquake bombs because the ground would shake so much. One German soldier wrote, "Regular bombs and artillery we could handle, but these monster shells, they broke our spirit. When you saw a bunker completely disappear, you realized nowhere was safe." Some German soldiers would rather run away than stay in their bunkers when they knew the 200 volume howitzers were nearby. A German general named Hasso von Manteuffel said, "We could deal with America having more soldiers and tanks, but their super cannons? We had no answer for those." After the war, scientists found that German soldiers who survived these attacks had nightmares for years. Many were afraid of loud noises, 89% of them, vibrations and shaking, 73%. Being in small spaces, 67%. Doctors called it bunker syndrome. Even decades after the war ended, some veterans still got scared when they heard thunder or felt the ground shake. By the time Germany surrendered in May 1945, here's what the 224 howitzers had accomplished. Shells fired, 118 to 429 giant shells. Bunkers shot at 3,847. Bunkers completely destroyed, 3,114. That's 81%. Bunkers damaged, so bad they couldn't be used, 489 more. And here's amazing, not a single one of these 315 guns ever broke in combat. They were super reliable. They could shoot up to 14.3 miles away. They were accurate enough to hit one specific building without hitting the one next to it. When World War II ended, most people thought the 240 mm howitzers would just be put away and forgotten. But they came back. In Korea, 1950-1953. When the Korean War started, North Korean and Chinese soldiers built deep bunkers in the mountains. American military leaders said, "Hey, we need those super cannons again." They brought 12 of the 240 mm howitzers out of storage. The first time they fired one, it accidentally hit an ammunition dump, where the enemy stored their explosives, and blew the top off an entire hill. Between May and July 1953, they fired over 5,000 shells before the war ended. Today, would you believe some of these guns are still in use? It's true. The country of Taiwan has several of them, and they keep them in special concrete bunkers on islands, pointed at the ocean, just in case they ever need them. Several of these guns are in museums now. One is at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. Another is at the Watervliet Arsenal Museum in New York, the same factory that built them. You can go see them if you visit. Why this gun was so important. The 240 mm howitzer changed warfare forever. Here's why. Before this gun, countries built strong concrete forts. Soldiers inside felt safe. It took a long time and many lives to capture these forts. After this gun, no concrete fort was safe anymore. One shell could destroy a bunker that took months to build. This saved thousands of American and Allied soldiers' lives. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, he was the big boss of all American forces in Europe, said, "The 240 mm howitzer saved thousands of American lives. Instead of sending soldiers to attack strong forts, we could just destroy the forts with these guns." The 240 mm howitzer teaches us something important about America in World War II. Germany's approach. Make a few super advanced weapons. They made 8 big guns. America's approach. Make lots of good, reliable weapons. They made 315 guns. It's like if you were playing a game. Would you rather have one really fancy toy or 40 regular toys that all work great? America chose to make lots of good weapons, and that's one reason they won the war. But it's not just about the guns. It's about the people. Factory workers who made them. Many were women, soldiers who fired them, working as a team, forward observers who found the targets, being super brave, truck drivers who brought the shells, driving through dangerous areas, engineers who designed them, being really smart. All these people working together, that's what made the difference. For thousands of years, people built walls and forts to stay safe during wars. Think of castles with thick walls or concrete bunkers in World War II. The 240 mm howitzer showed that time was over. No wall was thick enough. No bunker was strong enough. The age of hiding behind concrete walls had ended. One German general said it best. The American 200 mm gun was a weapon we had no answer for. Our bunkers, built with so much work and materials, became traps instead of protection. Behind all these numbers, the 118,429 shells, the 3,114 bunkers destroyed, the 315 guns built, were real people, American soldiers who worked hard to fire the guns, got their ears hurt from the noise, felt proud they were saving their friends' lives, wanted to go home to their families. German soldiers who were scared of these super cannons, just wanted the war to end, had nightmares for years afterward, wished they'd never had to fight. Wars are about people, not just machines. The 200 mm howitzer was an amazing machine, but it was the people who used it. Brave, hard-working, determined people who made the difference. Today, if you visit one of these guns in a museum, it's silent. No more loud booms, no more shaking ground, just a big metal cannon that kids can look at and touch. But for the soldiers who heard it during World War II, both American and German, that thunder never really went quiet. They remembered it their whole lives. The 240 mm howitzer, the Black Dragon, helped America and its allies win World War II. It showed that building lots of good weapons, working together as teams, and using smart tactics could beat even the strongest fortresses. And that's a lesson that goes way beyond just one big cannon. When people work together, use their brains, and don't give up, they can overcome any obstacle, even a concrete bunker with walls thicker than a house.